Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, we're going to be giving you a War Within beta PvP rundown of the Resto Druid perspective. How are things shaping up moving into the next expansion? What is the gameplay like? What is the experience like so far on the beta? And basically what has been changing as far as things have been updating. Now, in the initial stages of the beta, the gameplay was very slow. It took a lot of time to do a lot of damage. This was because they increased the stamina of the players so that they wouldn't be getting one shot by monsters, and I think that they hadn't done the respective PvP tuning adjustments in accordance with that. But since then, they have definitely been making more tuning adjustments, although seemingly not announcing them, because the pace of the game has been changing quite a lot, as we will see in this. Fury Warriors are really powerful at the moment. Their Blade Storm damage is absolutely through the roof, and you're likely going to see that in this first round. Now on Resto Druid, you've got pretty similar playstyle. You're going to be getting your hots up onto targets you expect to get attacked. So you can see here, our Hunter's getting attacked, Cenarian Ward, full row of hots, innervate pretty early. And we want to get our Treants out as soon as possible because we're running the Keeper of the Grove, and our Treants do a remarkable amount of healing. Now we're going to jump into Tree Farm, Barkskin, and Iron Bark. And you can see it's quite hectic. The amount of damage that these classes are able to put out. Windwalkers and Fury Warriors are definitely top performers, and I'm really having a tough time healing through this opening stage of the fight. But we have managed to recover through that initial stage using our Force of Nature and Tree Form right away. The next thing is that you're going to be able to tree weave. When you use Heart of the Wild, it makes all your Wraths heal. So you can see right now I'm spamming Wrath, and it's actually healing the Feral Druid similarly to how a Fistweaver would, but then our Feral Druid takes a huge amount of damage and we fall behind immediately. Now, this Feral Druid through this lobby was experimenting with some talents, didn't have all the enchants, and that is the case with a lot of players. So when you're going through these testings, there's a lot to take into account. Some people don't take all the time to look at the gear vendors. They don't take all the time to look through all the talents, and there are staggeringly differences in performance as far as talent and gear and having enchants and not having enchants to take into account. So this Feral Druid is experimenting with a weaker build at the moment, running the Druid of the Claw instead of the Vines one. I think it's called the Wild Stalker or something like that, which provides you a lot of extra damage. So Feral Druid had a bit of a harder run, whereas the Fury Warrior and the Windwalker, they're running more meta builds, and Hunters as well are really tanky on survival and able to put out quite a lot of damage. So those melee DPS are looking really good at the moment with those builds. Feral Druid does as well, but with the Druid of Claw build and the build this Druid is running, it's going to look a little bit weaker, I think, throughout this lobby. Now we get opened up again, but we've got pre-hots onto the Warrior. We're going to trinket right away. I'm respecting the Windwalker burst in the opening stages here with the Celestial Conduit rolling because it's a lot, and I just wanted to try using the Tree Weaving, but I forgot to press Heart of the Wild. You have to have Heart of the Wild up to Tree Weave, and now I'm suddenly really far behind. So we're going to use Cenarian Ward. Trying to heal in the beta with my binds a little bit messed up and no add-ons was a lot different of an experience, but now we've got Heart of the Wild up, so we can start spamming out these Wraths. We get cloned on it, which is going to be really important against these healers that are running these kind of Tree Weaving builds or Fist Weaving builds, because almost every healer has access to a build like this where their damage converts into healing. CCing them during that window of time and recognizing when that time is going to be really important in terms of shutting down their healing output. But now you can see I'm just spamming Wrath, and it's healing my team similarly to how a Discipline Priest would heal. And we actually force Emerald Communion, and you can see on the DPS meter that I'm quickly starting to pass up the Feral Druid and getting close to the Fury Warrior, which in that last round absolutely demolished everybody and destroyed everybody. So if you are able to find moments to do damage like this, you will be able to get a remarkable amount of pressure out as a healer specifically. But things for Resto Druid which you have lost are things like Adaptive Swarm. You are highly susceptible to being purged now without that, especially against like Evokers in this situation where you get Fire Breath purged. It's pretty much all of your hots off the target immediately. And also to run this Tree Weaving build means that you're going to lose the ability to have Swiftmend extend your hots. And that was a talent that was really overpowered in Shadowlands and has been baseline for Resto Druid for a long time. So if you want to go this type of Tree Weaving build, you're going to lose a significant amount of healing support and be able to extend your Cenarian Ward. So right off the bat, we've got our Force of Nature Treants coming out. We're just kind of wrathing the Warrior, waiting for the Feral Druid with our hots rolling onto our teammates. We still have tools like Overgrowth as well. We're going to Cenarian Ward the Monk here in the opener. All of our Treants are out, and we're going to use Nature's Swiftness with Soul of the Forest, trying to get into Tree Form, but we get put into a little sleepy. We're going to trinket out of the Sleepwalk and pop Heart of the Wild and just start Tree Weaving. We just start blasting down Wraths, adding a lot of extra damage into the mix. This was more so me like experimenting with the limits of what is possible at the moment on the beta. Can you just get away with like only Tree Weaving and not keeping too many hots up? And honestly, the Tree Weaving was doing a remarkable amount of healing to the point where sometimes if you could keep ahead of it, and I actually remember to press Heart of the Wild and I had my Treants out, I could kind of just support my team entirely spamming Wrath. And this is mostly due to the fact that Force of Nature now will apply wild growth to the targets you put them on. They'll also apply Moonfire to the targets just randomly in front of them, and they will also apply little mini Cenarian wards onto their targets. So the Force of Nature Treants are basically healing for you, and then you can just do damage while that's all going on, which is what I was able to get kind of noticed throughout this. The other thing to note is that Boom Conform is gone. I don't know why that is the case, but Boom Conform doesn't exist, so you're not gonna be able to dodge Polymorphs and cast Regrowth anymore, and you're not gonna be able to get kind of like the extra Heart of the Wild benefits of being in Moon Conform with the cast speed reductions on Starfire and stuff like that. So I just didn't even opt to take any of the Boomkin spells because I don't have Boom Conform to kind of synergize them with. But Force of Nature is out. They're just spamming Moonfire on everybody. You don't even need to take the time to put Moonfires out, so I can just look for Cyclones, and I can look for CC, and I can look for spamming Wraths and keeping Hots up on our targets. And these Moonfires do a lot of damage. Like Moonfire was probably over 50 to 70% of my damage, so these Treants just like automatically giving you almost as much DPS as a DPS really put us into a really good position. Now I think we did manage to grab at least one win with the Feral Druid. Obviously, some of these rounds are looking really one-sided because of that case, and sometimes that's going to happen on the beta. I'm obviously streaming these games live, so if you'd like to see this as it's progressing, as we're getting closer to the release, because honestly, if this Feral Druid was running a more standard build, I think that this lobby, I think this is where I told him that he should try the hero talent build, because this one was just not delivering it, and he said like he was just trying out a different one to give it a go. If you're not running like the current strongest builds, which is why tuning into tier lists and keeping up to date with changes like that is so important, you're going to be performing dramatically worse than everybody else. And he said like, yeah, I usually do right there. So we're going to try and get him a win with the inferior build where we've been out damaging him as the Tree Weaver. We got our Innervate, we got full Hots, Treants are out, Force of Nature, our Tree Form is spawning in Treants. We'll Trinket out of this trap and sleep, pop Heart of the Wild, and I want to just immediately start spamming Wraths, but our Feral Druid is just getting absolutely blasted. So we're struggling. We use Nature Swiftness with Soul to Forest, try and get our Hots back and reapply to the Feral Druid, get him topped, and now start going for some Tree Weaving. We're on full DR for all CC. We'll look for some Cyclones, maybe fake a kick, and try and mix in some Solar Wraths as soon as we can here, but we're taking so much damage. We go for a clone on the healer, get his adaptation, try and go for another clone, but he grapples over for a trap. Does he die in that trap? He's so low, man. It's so hard to heal him. It was so hard to heal him in these situations. Fury Warrior is absolutely decimating. Or he's sandbagging on Feral Druid. He's trying to make it look bad to see if he can get a win. So it's round 6. Can we get a win with the Feral Druid here, who's trying to run the alternative build over what would be considered the meta build on the beta here versus absolute meta slaves here between the Windwalker and the Fury Warrior? Which are in a remarkably good position. I think Bladestorm can do upwards of like 5 million damage in one Bladestorm. That's between the Bloodthirst that it procs, its main hand damage, its offhand damage, which honestly felt really good. I feel like if they can actually get the classes up to where the damage output of Fury Warrior is, that things like Battlegrounds will actually be really fun, as opposed to bringing them down and then bringing us into BFA land where no one's taking any damage. I'd much rather prefer they focus on tuning up classes that, or hero talent builds and classes that aren't able to perform as well. So Feral Druid, again, going to be the main target here. I know that, so I'm getting a full Hot Cenarian Ward. I'm probably going to Iron Bark pretty soon in the opener as well, and I am just tunnel visioning damage with Heart of the Wild in the opener on the Hunter to try and blast him out of the game before I know this Feral Druid's going to get absolutely scrapped. So we get Aspect of the Turtle from the Hunter. He's on the run. He's immune. We get clones over onto the Evoker, trying to get a little bit of a carry here. We get Sleepwalked, though, into a stun. I'm sitting this, waiting for the Freezing Trap, as it's likely going to come pretty soon, but I'm very scared of our Feral Druid dying with how much damage he's been taking throughout this entire lobby. We force Emerald Communion, but Iron Bark's up. You can see the little mini Cenarian Wards. The Treants, I think, just put a Cenarian Ward on me, and I think that it can scale towards your Mastery for extra Hots, so maybe that's why they decided to remove Adaptive Swarm, but it doesn't provide you Purge Protection, which is a big loss from losing Adaptive Swarm in the trade-off for getting these like mini Cenarian Wards. We get a clone with no Trinket. We got Moonfires up. Time to spam some Wraths with the few remaining seconds of our Heart of the Wild. Try and squeeze in a kill. I'm no longer healing. I gotta get this Feral Druid to win. We managed to pull off a win. You can see the end scoreboard at the end of this, where we were able to do like 47 mil to the Feral's 59. So obviously either this build is not that great, or he maybe didn't know 100% what he was doing, and that's why it's really important when you're analyzing stuff like this that you take that into account, that there's a huge variety of skill, knowledge, and information towards it, because a lot of stuff has changed. Some talents are like super sleeper and super strong, and then other mechanics just kind of not there just yet on the beta, and that's going to be expected in the beta state. But Survival, Fury Warrior, and Windwalker all look really strong at the moment in this position. And Resto Druid looks like it could be a strong contender as well. I think mostly just because of the Treants, the Moonfires that are coming out from the Treants, the Snaring Wards, the extra, globals that they basically save you are super important. I like the talent tree rework. You can actually get Skull Bash. You see that on my action bar. Way easier than before. You don't really have to lose a whole bunch to really get Skull Bash. So you'll have more access to an interrupt as well, which will provide more skill expression, I think, for Resto Druid, which is really great. Although I wasn't a big fan of losing Moon Conform. Especially because some of the tooltips on the talent tree say, like Fluid Form, say like it'll activate Moon Conform when you press Wrath, and it doesn't. But then I'm wondering if maybe that there was conflict, because if you were in tree form, instant wrathing, you wouldn't want to go into Moon Conform. So it would like take you out of tree form to go into Moon Conform, and maybe that's why they decided to remove it. In that instance, I don't know if they could have added a condition where it's like if Wrath is casted in tree, it doesn't, or not. But Resto Druid looked really strong. It's going to be a little bit less key. I don't know about the keybind density. It's about the same. Maybe a fraction of a bit less keybinds in this sense, but you are going to be much more susceptible to purge. And especially if shamans, they recently got the electrocute PvP talent back. If they buff that, it could be a real difficult counter for you specifically. So these are my thoughts so far on the beta, my experience with the Resto Druid through a couple of lobbies here. If you want to follow me live, make sure to follow me on my Twitch. If you want to make sure to stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft and content, then smash the subscribe button here. But other than that, that's all I've got for you here today. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.